Now, over the last few years, I often use the Hyundai Tucson or the Kia Sportage as an example to demonstrate the evolution of Hyundai Motor Group's vehicles. Specifically, I usually go for the second generation of those vehicles, mid 2000s, where an owner of one of those vehicles would be shocked, like completely dumbfounded by discovering where the brand has evolved to in 15 short years. And it's kind of interesting that this week I find myself in the presence and reviewing an all-new 2023 Kia Sportage. And among Kia's vehicles, this is probably the one that represents the best. It's a coincidence, but not a coincidence. Best represents how far and how serious Kia is when it comes to making their products evolve with times and change. I think in the entire lineup of continuously available models, I mean, the Sportage is the number one most indicative. What am I trying to say? It's the one that's evolved the most in its history. I think the Sorento would be number two, and we'll see the current Sonata not doing too well. It doesn't quite work out as well. The point is, and I'm just repeating and babbling as always, it's easy to understand why the Sportage is so popular. In fact, in the last quarter of 2022, it is the global best-selling model for Kia, and it's something like almost 15%, give or take, more sales globally than the next best model, which is the Forte. So, I mean, the impact, the importance of this vehicle is gargantuan for the automaker. And once more, now that I'm with the new 2023 Kia Sportage, it's clear to understand why it's such a big deal for the automaker. One thing they continue to do, though, is make the design evolve at such a rapid pace that it's unfortunate, because as far as design is concerned, there's no evolution. It's a revolution every time, which dates all the previous models. But I've gone over this many times in previous videos. But even when I will show you what the SUV looks like, you've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times already on the road, because it has been out for about 9 months, give or take, at this point. But for me personally, it's not the exterior that matters, it's the interior. And this happens to be an X-Line Premium, which is the top trim. No surprise there when it comes to a press vehicle. And that's where, for me, the vehicle sells itself, and where it has most shockingly evolved from its origins. Well, its origins, the first generation Sportage was more of a rear-wheel drive 4x4, if I'm not mistaken, body on frame, tiny little truck. Remember Yahi? How did that go? I forget. But the Bayou thing, right? I'm sure you remember that. If you have never seen that commercial for the Sportage, you gotta go on YouTube. You'll find it easily, I'm sure. But from the second generation on to here, different worlds altogether. Ooh, God, I like to speak. It's a good thing that I get to do this for a living, speak and write. Communicate, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And that's what I'm going to do in the following video as we walk around this and check out the interior and take it for a drive. So here we go. All right, so here's a design thing, and yes, the Sportage is running, and I hate doing that, but that's the only way I can get the headlights to stay on and the boomer. Actually, even though it's kind of cloudy outside, you really can't see them that well. I mean, at night, it's comically over the top. It's silly, it's trying too hard. When the whole boomerang lights up, you can kind of see it there. And then the headlights down here are very low, and then the fogs. It's just too much, it doesn't work. It looks silly. I mean, the Sportage, because of this, is instantly recognizable, but I don't know, and it kind of looks a little fishy from the front because the eyes are so far and wide apart and low. It doesn't work. The grille, you know, when you're designing something for the sake of design, to say that you designed something, this is the end result, and it's silly, and it'll be weird to see what Kia does as a follow-up to this, but well, we have another 6 years. It doesn't work. It really, really doesn't. It's my opinion, it's my show. And even from the side, I mean, look at that. It looks like there's something that's out of place or was added on as an afterthought. Having said all that, everything else about the SUV is actually really, really handsome. I love, like from the side, the pinched roof line up here. It really looks good, and you know, little details that Kia likes to throw into all their models. Oh, I hate the SUV run, but whatever. So yeah, I mean, it looks good. I mean, the tails are very nice. I like the bumper treatment in the back. And back to the tails, I mean, it's very reminiscent of the EV6 where they're joined in the middle and they have like a little lip to them. It's an overall, sadly, in a way, because the front is so ridiculous. Overall, it looks really, really good. Okay, so, oh, and by the way, I made a mistake. I'll tell you that in a second. So pricing in the US starts at $25,990 for the base SUV. The LX front-wheel drive, the equivalent in Canada, is $28,595. If you want all-wheel drive, it's an extra $2,000, so look for $30,595. It's basically one of the least expensive all-wheel drive compact SUVs you can buy in the country. That's as far as the value proposition is concerned, that's very tough to beat. At the other end of the spectrum in the US, you get the X Pro, $36,790, whereas in Canada we get an X Line Limited. I said premium, I think, in the opening portion of the video. It's an X Line Limited, and it is $41,395, and that is the model you're looking at right here. But look, the basic equipment in the SUV is, as you would expect in a Kia product, it's pretty complete. 17-inch wheels, LED lights in the front, heated front seats, an 8-inch touchscreen display, keyless entry, so on and so forth. Everything you need is there. In my opinion, the X-Line, not the Limited, but the X-Line, the starting X-Line at $34,195 is your value proposition. It's got the heated steering wheel, power seats, keyless start, and a bunch of other features. That would be your volume value leader in my opinion, because it also looks like this with the X-Line with the slightly different front and rear bumpers, a little bit more decor on the sides and the front and all of that. But this X-Line Limited does have these unique 19-inch wheels, which are actually quite cool. Got the panoramic sunroof, but that's available on other trims and versions. Then we go to the front end with these projection headlights. There really is no nice way to look at them. They don't get any better looking, no matter the angle. But this is the only version that does get the dual 12.3-inch displays on the interior and Harman Kardon audio. There's no point in doing another lap. So let's check out the interior, shall we? Okay, so, oh yeah, power hatch. Always a nice feature. Now, depending on, I'm going to zoom out, depending on the source of information that I'm looking for, US or Canada, the Kia says this is about 1,100 liters of boot space. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that's like, it's more than a Kia Sorento behind the second row, or more or less the equivalent. It's huge, but it's not 1,100 liters. I'm thinking this is probably 900 maybe. But I can see it. It's very deep. It's fairly high. There isn't any room under here, so that cannot be calculated in there. But even so, I think maybe compared to the RAV4, which I believe has the largest rear trunk boot, whatever, this is damn near close. Great usable trunk, bottom line. Speaking of usable, the rear seats, there's loads of room back here for the kids, and yes, the seat backs do recline. I love that feature. There won't be any room for a passenger in the middle here, but whatevs, it's a compact SUV, that's the way it is. Nice little USB ports right there, and I do love these hangers up here. You can hang a coat, scarf, bags, I don't know, all kinds of stuff. Nice details. Speaking of details, 2-mode rear heated seats. Let's close the door. Okay, so yeah, I'm here. Okay, nice to see you too. Look, the presentation is great. For the price point, for the segment, I mean, even the appliques, faux as they may be, they look good. door handle. It's very cool how it's kind of cut out. Yes, it's two-piece, but details. Even this little handle, little notch that you can pull on to close the door. Harman Kardon audio. I mean, the seats, like I said, this is the top trim, right? So leather and bolstered power lumbar support. They're actually quite comfortable. And this is probably the best shot of the dual 12.3-inch screens. Let's slide aboard. Okay, let's keep on the screens. So switch hands. It's very responsive. It's very quick to go from, one screen to another. It's really, really nice. There's nothing complicated to say as far as that's concerned. It's very functional. This might be one of the only complaints that I have as far as the controls on the inside. I mean, as you can see, this is your main menus, right? So radio, navigation, all that. And this is your volume knob. If you want to switch to HVAC, you got to hit there, and then you get, the full menu. So dual heated sections, controllers. It's like one step too many, but for design purposes, that's why it is, right? Because it looks good. Now, the problem with those buttons here is that these also exist, and they're instantly responsive. They give you exactly what you want immediately when you want them, and that's what us older people complain about. It often takes way too long for these screens to load up, or even a panel like this to load up before you can actually activate it. So the second you step into the truck, SUV, and you start it up, there's a button, you can activate that and it starts to work. I love that. That's old school me, but you see, our generation, we're used to that. We like to be catered to immediately. We don't like waiting after technology. Boy, I don't know how that made me sound, but it's done. Okay, so door bin is not good overall. I mean, I love the small-ish A-pillars, and this window is just fantastic. See my heated steering wheel? Oh, it's so nice. As far as storage is concerned, good bin, good. This is kind of neat. Whoa, okay. There we go. Large bin right here. A good grip on the steering wheel. I mean, oh yeah, so you get your drive modes down here. So you have your drive and terrain when you hit that. So in drive, your different modes, the screens do change, little details, fancy stuff. It's very nice. I think that's enough. I think it's drive time. Okay, so here we go, driving off. So if the interior, and I guess you can tell, is something that I really like and does sell the Sportage far more so than the exterior, it's when you get behind the wheel that, I mean, it seals the deal. And this is not a hybrid version, mind you, which might explain if you noticed the fuel consumption number. Actually, no, that doesn't explain it at all. For some reason this week, since I brought the Sportage home, I've been doing city driving exclusively, which explains the catastrophically high fuel consumption number. In case you missed it, it's just over 16 liters per 100 kilometers, but that's not real. It's not reality. It has no basis in the real world. It's just a coincidence that that's the case this week with this vehicle. I guess we can continue on the powertrain. So naturally aspirated 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, 187 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, 178 pound-feet of torque at 4,100 RPM. I'd say smack in the middle as far as outputs are concerned in the segment, but more than a number of its competitors, it's entertaining. It's good fun. Probably because it has a real 8-speed automatic transmission. Say, compared to a Forester with the same size engine and very similar output numbers, the CVT kind of hyper compensates off, and on immediate throttle response, but then it gets monotonous, occasionally drony and whatnot. Whereas this, it's an actual transmission, and you have paddle shifters that will shift actual gears. It might be more of a mental thing, but that is definitely working for me. As far as acceleration is concerned, thanks to the transmission, I mean, this thing feels like it has more power. It doesn't have, that instant dollop of torque you would get from, say, a 1.6 turbo that is also found in many of Kia's products. But look, it's plenty enough for the real world, I guess, is the best way to put it. And in the real world, I mean, the fact that the front wheels are not connected to anything, but you feel like, you know, there's a response and there's decent assistance and it'll never leave you stranded or wanting for more. That works wonderfully well. I mean, the same goes for the brakes. I mean, I actually like the brake pedal feel. I mean, the response is very quick. Travel is limited. And quite possibly for the average buyer, one of the best selling points of the driving experience is the ride quality. It's tuned slightly sportier than not, so that kind of plays nicely with the steering, and you get the impression that you're getting something a little bit more. I mean, McPherson struts in the front, a multi-link setup in the rear, and it rides really nice. On a nice, comfortable road surface, it feels sporty and planted, as, you know, those typical words us journalists use. But even on rougher surfaces, it's actually quite nice. I really can't complain. And again, this is the 19s with very narrow sidewalls, winter tires. It's not exactly the quietest SUV, but I mean, I'd say it's smack in the middle of the norm when it comes to compact SUVs for the price and the segment and all of that. I mean, it's such a tough thing, right? I always and continue to say that Kia and Hyundai products, they do not age gracefully. And the recently reviewed Telluride and the Sportage, they're so convincing when new. So convincing when new. So much, in fact, that I mean, I would still put the RAV4 in the tops. I do like the Forester, CX-5, they're great alternatives. I don't know about the new CR-V. I should be reviewing it very shortly, but I'm sure it'll be very good overall, as expected from that vehicle. What am I trying to say? I don't know. I cannot recommend the purchase or even a long-term lease of this. But I couldn't convince anyone not to actually pick it up, to pick one up. In fact, I've failed miserably in the past couple of years to steer people away from stupid tripod, to steer people away from Kia and Hyundai products because of styling, personal thing, but the content, the value, and even the drive quality overall. I don't know what to say. I wouldn't risk it, but I understand if you would. Hopefully in the near future I do get to drive a hybrid model, and that'll probably just serve to convince me even more so that, I mean, these are good short-term products. I will, though, say that I would take this over a Ford Escape and Jeep Compass and a number of other small SUVs. I still stand by the fact that the Toyota RAV4 is the best pick. And that's it.